When did you know that your parents only saw you as property? Growing up, my family only had one source of income, renting us out. My grandparents started the rental system in 1987. They noticed how sexually frustrated their male relatives were, how their marriages crumbled during dry spells. So they created what I now like to joke as being the modern solution. One child, specifically a daughter, would be loaned to relatives who needed therapeutic refreshers. The chosen child wore a GPS tracker bracelet that couldn't be removed. My mother was one of the first to volunteer. Her dad, my granddad, had preached to her since she was a newborn about the woman's purpose in the family, how it was up to us to put the men at ease by using what our mama gave us. She genuinely believed she was helping the family, preventing divorces, stopping relatives from turning violence on each other, all the traits of a real woman. It actually sounds crazy saying it out loud, but for so long, this is just the way things were. 3 generations of our family had grown up seeing this as normal. My aunts would bring their husbands to preview sessions, teaching them which acts were most accessible, and more importantly, most pleasurable for the male. By the time men married into our family, they had their own access schedules. The women weren't innocent bystanders either. My grandmother maintained the booking calendar. My mother coordinated transportation. My aunts prepared aftercare kits and taught younger girls that this was keeping the family strong. They believed it. Without the program, they'd say, imagine how many divorces we'd have. I was 6 when I first watched my cousin Priya get loaded into Uncle Devang's car. I watched his parents count the cash payment while explaining Priya's trigger points like they were handing over a manual. The rules were specific. Children served from age 4 until 18. Then the next youngest would be selected. No gaps in coverage allowed. My grandmother kept detailed spreadsheets. Which child served which family, satisfaction ratings, injury logs labeled as maintenance records. She showed me once, proud of the organization. Client testimonials praising how much their marriages had improved. Payment histories showing our family's financial stability. And since I grew up as the ugly duckling of the family, double chin, huge nose, small eyes, by the time I turned 10, I still hadn't been picked. But everything changed when I turned 13 and found my granny's old laptop. It was hidden beneath a stack of towels, so I knew there had to be something juicy she was hiding. The password was easy, my birthday, since I was her future breadwinner. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I just knew I was bored. But after just 20 minutes, I found it. Dozens of videos of encrypted client videos, 20 years of footage. Every session was recorded for quality assurance. I even found black and white photos of my mother as a preteen, when her eyes were still filled with childhood innocence. And the more I uncovered, the more I realized how effed up our family really was. Something about watching my uncles learning techniques on their cousins finally opened my eyes. Generations of systematic violence, all carefully archived. And if I was anywhere other than my hometown, I would have ran straight to the police. But in my small town, over 80% of the officers consisted of my family members, ones who featured in the videos I had found. And I knew turning the videos meant putting my life in danger. So for a while I had no idea what to do. I was sort of hoping that the problem would just go away by itself. And one day, it did. I was sitting at the kitchen table when I saw my cousin Madhu putting on a sari that barely covered her body, the sign that she was chosen. I asked her if she wanted to exercise before leaving, and she nodded. No listening ears, no home prison, just us pouring our hearts out. It was the first time we were able to talk about what was going on. She was in tears. This is my 3rd family. The other 2 rejected me for being too injured. She was hyperventilating, and that's when we heard it. Her dad shouting that it was time to go. I didn't get to save her, but that's how it started. Every weekend, while the men had fun with their assigned girls, me and the unchosen ones would gather together in the shed, all desperate to avoid our fate. I taught them how to recall detailed accounts of abuse, which might not sound like much, but for most of us it was everything. We had spent so long being beaten into silence that it took us weeks of practice to speak about what was going on, but slowly, we found our voices. Everything crashed down at my cousin Sunita's 16th birthday. Grandmother stood with the GPS bracelet, announcing Sunita would go to the highest bidder. Suddenly, all the men broke out into applause for Mr. Sharma, who'd paid in advance. She was so young she hadn't even started puberty yet. Something in me snapped. As he started the final vow, I stood up and spoke, but this time it wasn't in the shed. It was out loud. This isn't right. She deserves a childhood. People's jaws dropped. The men clenched their fists in anger. Through the window, I could see men in suits surrounding us. Someone